And good morning, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Pattison Ave Sports Show. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group of companions on this very important Saturday. Joey, good morning, sir, and happy Saturday, and happy last day of the draft. And right now, the Eagles are looking very good right now. But first and foremost, how are you doing on this very important Saturday, my friend?
Tired, but I'll live with it. I love it. I love NFL draft season. I love it. It's exhausting, but oh man, it is so invigorating because Howie Roseman just makes me more engaged. It's like high drama. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. We got a lot to get to on this very important Saturday. Like we mentioned, we will be recapping the draft from the first two nights of the draft from night one and night two. Uh, Maybe the Phillies awful stretch if we get a chance to, if we try to get back here, if we have the opportunity to. But Joe, we got a jam-packed show, so simply put, where do we begin?
Well, we begin with the Eagles NFL
I had a
draft.
feeling
So
that too.
yeah. So there's been a lot of movement. Okay, so if I just want to recap something for people that are just waking up and saying, uh, what is on cap for today with the NFL draft? Well, the Eagles late last night, had the 96th pick, and they decided about not once but twice trade out of that pick wants to go into that 101, 102 territory, and then they traded out of that. So they traded once with Denver and once with Atlanta.
Hmm.
They garnered a sixth round pick and an extra fourth round pick for this year. So if I'm correct, they have two fourth round picks, both somewhat early in the round, mid tier, early ish in the round, and then fifth round picks, three of them, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and then a sixth round pick. Hang on, let me get the actual draft picks.
Okay.
So
Um.
round four, pick 111,
Uh.
130, and pick round four. So the end of it,
Okay.
161 in round five. So again at the end of round five,
Mm-hmm.
165 in round five towards the end.
That's Washington's pick. So.
168 for round five. And then we had a sixth round pick later on from the Falcons.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. We're still gonna, and me and James said this before we got on the air today. Um, for all those people who kind of dismiss day three, Howie Roseman doesn't. And we'll get into days one and two and what Howie did, but something to think about before we go forward, um, especially for our conversation later, is
Mm-hmm.
day three picks, recent picks for Howie have included Jalex Hunt, who it seems like he's coming on strong to play for a starting position on this Eagles defense, and Keely Ringo, who could potentially be the CB2 for your Philadelphia Eagles coming into this coming season.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to kind of keep in mind there's a lot of guys that we get in this day that are still steals, that are still potential untapped talent. And we will get to some of the remaining players that are on the board that could potentially fill those roles. Names that you might hear today get called. But before we do, let's talk about the names that have been called. Just James, day one,
Mm-hmm.
we thought the Eagles were going to trade up. They did, but not quite as far as we thought they were.
Yeah.
They traded one spot to the Kansas City Chiefs to 31 to get a guy that is basically what has been widely considered a top 10 talent, not just positionally, but overall top 10 draft talent that fell to us at 31. Jahir Campbell, defensive end, outside linebacker from where?
Bama. Alabama.
Huh. And as we talked about yesterday with our good friend Mitch Kopsky on Fly Like an Eagles podcast, uh, we we have been seeing a trend: Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia.
Yep,
So,
yep.
welcome to the family, Mr. Campbell. This is gonna be interesting. This is a guy that can hit. He's fast, quick off the launch. This is a guy who had 117 tackles. Um, last year with 11 and a half sacks and like four forced fumbles. He's played in a situation where this guy shines the brightest when the lights are the brightest. And
That's
James,
true.
we like playing where the lights are the brightest, especially as your Super Bowl champions.
No
Um,
question.
my question to you is, what's your impression of the Eagles' first round pick?
Yeah, it's interesting, because like you think about what's been going on the last handful of years going back to, it's been going on for actually more than 5 years now. Going to make the last time we checked, but I like the pick. I really do. I think he's a really good player for this team. But then you think about the players we bring in. I would have thought maybe if this was like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I don't think Howie Roseman will be getting like a Jahad Campbell or maybe a N'Kobe Dean or even like a Nolan Smith or Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and the list goes on and on. Like
Or
he'll be
Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean. I mean,
right,
he
right.
broke the trend there too last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, definitely. And this is Howie's season, man. I mean, everybody worries about, I remember there was times when the Eagles were in the mix of their offseason, and he's like, Howie's not making moves, Howie's not making moves. And I'm thinking, like, okay, relax. Give it some time to breathe. Give it some time to breathe. I know you're on a high right now. I know we just won the Super Bowl, but Howie, just let Howie cook the meal. Okay, let him cook the
Mhm.
steak. Let him cook the potatoes and the mushrooms and the condiments and all that stuff. Because he's just, I mean, the one thing I'm really glad to see too is that he's continuing to show me. I mean, I don't want to know what Howie is thinking on draft night because there's stuff because there's times when you say when Howie doesn't tell you anything should be a good sign, like John Kincaid talked about yesterday. Like when he says, like if he's not telling you anything about like the draft picks or what they're going to be doing, he surprises you and hits you with a curveball, and he like freezes you and thinking like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that to happen." And then he does this again, and then he does it again with the SEC guys. He does it again with the. I mean, yes, I mean he's got two good picks in that SEC. I mean, Jahai Campbell was one guy to keep a close eye on. I mean, and the other thing that you know what's the craziest thing about it too, Joe? Like you would have thought that these players would have been gone by the time the Eagles pick, and it was standing right there again for the like probably because it happened again with Jalen Carter in 2023 and Nolan Smith in that same night one draft, and then last year with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yep.
It's just like everybody's trying to bite the bullet, but the craziest thing about it is that like Howie just continues to amaze me. I mean, if anybody still thinks Howie doesn't know what he is doing, they did not. I'm sorry to say right now, he's the best GM that probably in franchise history. I mean, he's probably better than Jim Murray, and I met Jim Murray back in the day, and he was a down to earth good guy. But this guy is just nothing short of amazing, Joe.
I'm going to say this, and this can be debated. I understand
Hmm.
because he doesn't have quite as many Super Bowls as other general managers. However,
Right,
I'm going to say this now: Howie Roseman, by the time it's all said and done, will be the GOAT when it comes down to general managers, not just in
no
Philadelphia
question.
Eagles, but like NFL. Like this is a guy that didn't just have to rebuild a team once, not twice, but three times. And in all of that has taken this Eagles team to three Super Bowls and won two of them.
Right,
That's not for that puts you in rare air in the NFL, let alone just the Eagles. Like the in the Eagles, he's like at the pantheon of like what a general manager should be and
yep,
is. But like in the NFL, he's climbing that Mount Rushmore, man.
yeah,
And
dude.
and so like that this guy's not a 65, 70-year-old man. This is a guy like a Dave Dombrowski. Like, this is a guy who's still he's only a couple years older than me.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, me? What? Like, okay. He's like a peer. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. But no, from my perspective with this guy Campbell, man, I mean,
What's there to
I've
say?
said
You know.
I've said this for 5 or 6 years, and Frank Finnegan used to sit across the table from me when we were in EOP studio,
Yep.
and I would be like, Frank, I just want a linebacker in the first round. I just want a linebacker, and Frank would say, in his calm way, Joe, that's not how the NFL runs anymore. That's not how things are done. That's not how the Eagles draft. That's not what they do. And then Thursday night, I get my wish. I was half in and out of sleep, but I got my wish. I was like, I thought I was dreaming. I was like, wait, we drafted a linebacker? What? Yeah, okay, whatever. And I went to bed, and I like, all right, I turned off the draft, went to bed, woke up the next morning, I was like, whoa, we actually drafted a linebacker. I'm like, wait, it wasn't a dream. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. I'm like, oh, this is special. Now
Yeah,
look,
man.
I
Yeah,
get
dude.
here's the other part that I like about this guy. This guy is an off-ball linebacker, but he can also play the edge. And he's not just like this edge off ball, like which position is he better at? No, he can play both at a high level. This is a guy that I feel like is going to make an immediate impact next to Jalen Carter. You
Hmm.
want to talk about guys that are going to feast. James, this defense, this team is taking shape not just from this draft. I mean, this draft is complementing them, but it's taking shape from all the work that's already been put in from Howie in previous drafts.
Right.
And man, I said I wanted to say this last night because I think Howie Roseman is the best poker player out there.
He really is.
Because if you ever watched the World Series of Poker and the Texas Hold'em and the way that game is set up, I don't know much about poker, but I've caught myself watching poker. I put it on at night because it's like golf. It's really, slow and peaceful. And so I will fall asleep to World Series of Poker. So, I remember when I still had sight, like seeing how that worked with the river. And I never understood what the hell that meant, but the whole thing is you have to wait for you have your hand and you're waiting for the dealer to reveal his hand gradually.
Right.
And then you can you can get rid of some of your cards or you take new cards, raise your bet, withdraw your bet, whatever, as those cards are revealed. This is where I feel like Howie is, and this is the comp that I have for the NFL draft. Howie is the poker player at the table, especially in round one, and he's seeing the cards get revealed by the other teams. And he's going, okay, I'm good. He's looking at his hand and he's like, I'm good. I'm good.
Hmm.
Hold steady, hold. And he's like, he's watching, he's like, all right, let's hit the nine on the river. Let's hit the nine on the river.
Right.
And the last 3 or 4 years, he has hit that
Yeah,
river.
man.
And so this is a guy, I want to just give him my money to go play poker. And B, I mean, this guy Howie Roseman just knows how to set things in motion where he doesn't reach.
Hmm.
There were some picks on round one that felt like, from the other team's perspective, they were reaches.
Hmm.
And I don't know if Howie probably learned his lesson from before with the Jalen Rager and Arthego Whitesides and all of that.
Right.
He's like,
Right.
I need to not reach for those people. If
Yeah.
I lose them, I lose them.
Yeah.
But I can't reach, because if I reach, I could be hindering the team going forward.
Right.
So Howie didn't stop there. He continued on day 2. Now, day
Yep.
2, I said last night on the podcast, Fly Like an Eagle, that I felt like they were going to move, Howie was going to move up. And again, it's that Texas Hold'em mentality: hold steady, hold fast, hold steady. And he held because he wanted a specific person. I didn't see this. I wanted to text you, but I'm like, I was a couple minutes behind in the draft. So
Hmm.
I'm sitting there going, I'm seeing the guys who we were mentioning come off the board.
Right. Right.
Guys like, Willard Johnson and Mike Green and this Pierce and the safety from South Carolina. I'm seeing all
Right.
these guys come off the board. The guy from Bowling Green, the guy from BC, the defensive end from BC, the tight end from Bowling Green,
Right.
um, Mason, um,
Mason Taylor too. Yeah.
Mason Taylor. Like we talked about all these guys, and all these guys got picked, and I'm like, Howie, I'm getting nervous. Howie, I'm getting nervous. What are you doing, Howie? And then the pick came, and who did they pick in the second round, James?
The safety from Texas, and I gotta tell you right now, he has a lot of speed, man.
Andrew Okobo.
Andrew Okobo. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so
I couldn't say his name. That's why I was gonna.
Andrew Okobo uh came from Texas, but he played, oh God, where he played somewhere, Ole Miss, I believe.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but so this guy, he is a Swiss Army knife when it comes
Yeah.
down to, he's going to be your safety, and he's a Swiss Army knife. Not to mention, he knocks people's heads off, which I like. I like that. When I heard that this guy hits hard and he was one of the top bench press safeties at the combine, I go, "Oh, I like and he can not only play safety, James, he can also play corner." Which,
Hmm.
who else on our team did we pick in the second round that can play safety and corner? Oh, right, Cooper DeJean from last year. So now we're pairing these two guys that are so versatile and that can tackle and that can knock your head off, and we're going to put them on the same defense.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, oh, okay, I believe you again, Howie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I doubt you. I'm sorry. This is a guy that, plays at a high level, has a high motor, has all the intangibles to be able to tackle. Like as Booger basically said last night, when this guy puts his hands on you, you'll know it.
Hmm.
And he's like, believe me, this guy has everything you want to have in a secondary guy, whether it's
Yep.
safety or corner. So now we're giving Vic Fangio this Campbell guy who's a versatile, he could be outside linebacker, he can be inside linebacker, he can be edge guy. And then you go and you give Okobo and you give him the, ability to play safety, you give him the ability to play corner. James, Vic
Wow.
Fangio has got toys. He's got toys that aren't just one dimensional, they're multi-dimensional.
Right.
I gotta ask, tell me what you feel, what your impression is of Okobo and this pick from Howie Roseman.
I saw him last night. Like basically, like his stats. I'm thinking. When I saw like obviously like the players like dropped off the board, like the South Carolina player, and the list
Yeah.
goes on and on. I was like skeptical. I'm thinking like, oh great. I mean now, I mean all these players are like coming down and they're dropping off the board. And I was like, oh crap, really? And then out of nowhere, I see this guy from Texas, and it only just saw his scouting report and see like his highlights at Texas. And I was like saying like, whoa, okay, okay. I mean, now the thing that I like about it the most is that he's just. I mean, like you think about it now, you got Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and now you got this guy. this is going to be really one thing that I'm going to keep a close eye on come training camp to see how these players like fit into the system of Vic Fangio. And even you brought up too that he's got so many toys to play with now. I mean, he's got so many. I mean, he's got a lot of tools to like fix the job now, and also had. And the thing that I like about it too with Fangio is that I can say right now, I think like Howie Roseman's in his years, like give me some players for this draft because I mean to replace Milton Williams and like a Josh Sweat and even like an Isaiah Rodgers, and the list goes on and on about that too. But I really do like what I saw out of the last two picks because, yeah, sure. I mean, like he traded a majority of the picks last night in the third round too. But he says, you know what? We got Jahad Campbell, and now we got this other player from Texas. So that's going to be something. I mean, the day three is going to be something to keep a close eye on too, because he mixes magic in day three too. Because like you mentioned with the Keely Ringos, the Jalex Hunts, and the list goes on and on about that too. But yeah, I mean that's going to be something to keep a close eye on for the final day of the draft. But rightfully so far right now, I can't wait to the. I mean, I'm not a preseason guy, but I mean, I'm not. I mean, I am a little bit, but now it's just gonna be like training camp and preseason, what they'll look like. I'm gonna be anxious to see what this team looks like come September.
Let me put something in your mind and everybody else's mind. The
Yeah.
secondary, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just currently, I'm not saying that they're done. I feel like they'll still pick people on the defense. So this is just currently, okay?
Right.
You got Quinyon Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
You got Cooper DeJean. You got Okobo. You got at Reed Blankenship.
Right.
You got Keely Ringo. You got two safeties that are young. You got three cornerbacks that are young. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking about out of those five core people on the secondary,
Mm-hmm.
your average age is 24.
Wow. That's 7 years younger than me, and I'm 30. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you'd be an old man. You'd be
right.
an old man on that defense.
Yeah, you know, I'll be like kind of like in not Brandon Graham territory, but kind of like in like Jason Kelsey territory.
Put it this way, James. If you interviewed any of them, you would have to call them young man.
Yeah,
Like that's where you would be like, okay, I don't need to feel older than I am, but this is where you are. You
yeah,
came on to this show as the young gun and everything. Now you get to
yeah, right.
now you get to see it from our perspective and go, damn, these young whippersnappers, like, oh,
Well, it's
like,
funny you mentioned that. I think I started with you guys at like 23. I think I was at
yes,
20. We're talking like 8 years ago. So
yes.
yeah. So they'll be calling me like they'll say like, yes sir, like instead of me like
yes, yes sir, yeah, yes sir, yes I am. Okay, young man, thank you. And so, I want to hear that interview so badly right now. So yeah, shout out to Kubu and Campbell. If you want to come on and make James feel older than he is, please do.
By all means, look, I'd rather feel old than young. You know.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah. So we go to day 3. Now,
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody the draft for day 3 starts at noon. So not long after we're done here, you will be able to tune in, get your lunch ready, and get ready for the Howie Magic to continue. And I honestly think that this day is going to speak loudly about a couple things. Number one, you got the idea that Dallas Goedert's still on the board. Yesterday, Mitch Kofsky said that he felt like Dallas Goedert might not be traded yesterday between round 2 and 3. He felt more strongly like he could be traded today. So I could see that happening. I still feel like they need to trade him in order to get something. And, you know, I'll mention this as one of the players that I feel like could replace him. Grant Calcaterra is a good tight end. Now, I get it. People might have skepticism about him. But Grant's not skeptical to me as far as a receiving tight end. I think the biggest gripe on Grant is that he's not as much of a blocking tight end as Dallas Goedert was. Now, this guy, Mitchell, from tight end from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, is a guy I kept close eyes on for obvious reasons. And so I know that this guy is a dual threat. He's a good blocking tight end and he's a good receiving tight end.
Hmm.
And not to mention, James, that the tush push hasn't been eliminated yet. And believe it or not, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish did the tush push a couple times with this guy Mitchell
Hmm.
at tight end. So he's already ready to go for the brotherly shove, the tush push uh, down for next season. So there's that. But
Hmm.
let's get to some of the other guys that you guys could be seeing coming off the board. A guy that, as I mentioned to James earlier before we came on the show today, we had mentioned as a possible round one person, a day one person that we could see the Eagles drafting that has now slipped all the way to day three. And that is Jack Sawyer,
Hmm.
defensive end from Ohio State. James, what do you make of Jack Sawyer? What do you think if that's a guy that and I get it, people are like, well, he already got the one guy, Campbell, he's not going to get another edge guy. Listen, you can never have too much depth
No
at
such thing. No
the
such thing as too many players on this
yeah.
team.
So what's your take on Jack Sawyer?
I've seen his stuff at like going back to that national title he played with over at Ohio State. I think I'm yeah, sure he's not gonna be a day one starter, obviously, but the one thing I like about him too is that he's one player that is a real good player that could fit in that role with Jahad Campbell, to Kobe Dean, and all that other stuff too. And look, you could probably put him in the probably in the rotation. Like I said, like this is the one thing I was telling you guys about yesterday is that Vic Fangio is a great thing about what he does is that he rotates players like in and out like of the lineup and all that too. So this is something that I really thought that this could be a good pick for the Eagles to get in the day three of the NFL draft because look, I'm not saying he's going to be a big time major league, big time player like he is, but I mean, look, a lot of depth on this team. That's what you have to need on this team, especially like the players that you lost, and like the Milt Williamses and the Josh Sweats, and the list goes on and on about that too. But I think that's going to be the big thing that's going to happen in this day three draft. Is going to be like, okay, if who's going to be the like top player available, and Jack Sawyer is a real good player. I mean, I thought he was very good with Ohio State. I mean, yeah, sure, he's not going to be like I said a day one starter, but the one thing is for sure though is that I really hope to see him do is that he'll become more of a like a rotational like edge rusher or maybe a rotational linebacker, especially like the players you got now. I mean that's going to be something to keep a close eye on, especially in day three draft. And by the way, I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was a day three draft pick too, so that's something to keep a close eye on too. Because day three, that's where Howie makes his magic too. But overall, I mean, hey, if Sawyer lands on our lap, I'll be perfectly fine with that, Joe.
So another guy, and I'm kind of missing his name, but he's an offensive guard from Purdue. This is a guy who I feel like could fit that role of kind of the depth role because right now that you got to think about it. The four out of the five starting offensive linemen are pretty much set in stone. You got Mailata, Dickerson, Jurgens, and Lane Johnson.
Hmm.
Those guys are pretty much set in stone. And by the way, for all intents and purposes, people, Cam Jurgens has had news this past week. He got extended. His contract got extended with the Eagles, so
Yep.
he's going to be your center for the next couple years, and that's huge news because this is again what Howie does. He gets ahead of the curve. He knows the guys that he's got to keep in the room and that make the best sense to make this team the best it possibly can be for the long standing the long term. So this guard from Purdue, he's big. He works well with his hands. He is a bit of a project, but like it'll be interesting to see where this guy actually falls. Is he a guy that will be a late fourth round pick, that late fourth round pick that the Eagles have, or will he last into the fifth round. I mean, James, what do you think about them picking up a guard in the fourth or fifth round, especially this guy from Purdue?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because like you think about the players we that we lost in the offensive line. Obviously, Mekhi Becton's one player that I don't think is going to be a big loss, obviously, because Stellan University is probably at an all-time high. So, I mean, if there's another player that will come into Stellan University and become something, that'll be something to keep a close eye on too. And like I said, day three. But um, yeah, I mean, I'll be okay with that guard from Purdue because yeah, sure. I mean, he's one guy that is one player that you probably need like to have more depth on the team. But overall, I mean, this will be one thing to keep a close eye on come like in training camp when the time calls for it to see like what this. I mean, if they get the player from Purdue and also what Tyler Steen does, and even like Trevor Keegan, and the list goes on and on about that too. So, but I know for sure if it's Stellan University, I mean that's going to be something to keep a close eye on too to see what Stoutland does with those offensive linemen. So that'll be a very interesting pick. But hey, look, I mean, you can't have too much depth on the offensive line either, like we do on defense. So
Yeah.
no, so that's going to be the most important thing too.
I mean, you got to keep in mind this guy Green that we traded for, and then Steen, and then if you were to look into this guy, you know, not much pressure being put on him. You know,
Right.
he could be a guy that Statland could use as a project, and it's a good guy to stash away.
Hmm.
I think that it could be a good pick for today, at some
Yeah,
point,
that's true.
regardless. So Dean Walker, defensive tackle from Kentucky. This is a guy who's got powerful hands. Who basically the only uh, bad thing about him is that he hasn't had consistent play.
Hmm.
He doesn't have a lot of tread. I mean, he's got a lot of tread on the tires, but not a lot of experience.
Hmm.
But this is a guy that I feel like could be a powerful, powerful presence in that defensive tackle.
Hmm.
Look, we need to replace Milton Williams. This
That's
guy
true.
could be it. What do you think, James?
Um, Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, you can't have too much players on depth. Like this is like what it's going to be more than anything. What it's going to look like come day three, especially with all the players that you mentioned. I mean, these are not going to be like. I mean, maybe like a Jack Sawyer, probably in future references could be, or the other player that we got from the the player that you brought up from Texas could be a day one starter eventually, as especially if, like when the time calls for when that season comes around. But yeah, I mean, I I'm not too quick. I'm not sure about what like
Well,
his stat.
this guy's a boomer bust defensive tackle.
Oh, okay. So
So
yeah, it's gonna be like hit or miss. So I mean, yeah,
look.
I understand that.
I will say it this way: having a depth defensive tackle that, regardless if it's boom or bust, is worth it.
Hmm.
um, the final guy I want to get to on, I already mentioned about Mitchell, the tight end from Notre Dame. I'm hoping that he gets picked. That could be a guy that could be drafted maybe late fifth round. It's still a worthwhile pick to get
Hmm.
because I feel like he can give you a lot of. I mean, look, Notre Dame. He was one of Notre Dame's prime targets,
Right.
and Notre Dame went all the way to the national championship game. So there's that to be said. But there's another guy. Now we focus so much on defense, but I am curious about what we do on offense. Now, we did not pick up the fifth year option for Jair Dotson.
Mm.
So he's on his last year of his contract. And so we need to bring in other people, other receivers. We can't just rely on the Johnny Wilsons and all of that. We have to start bringing in other youthful talent.
Right.
So Torrey Holton, receiver out of Colorado State. The
Hmm.
player comp for him is Devonta Smith.
Hmm.
So this is a lanky guy that knows how to gain separation, how to get himself open, and basically knows how to catch the ball. I mean, think about what Devonta Smith is good for. He
Right.
guy that can make his own space and get open and be able to catch the ball in limited amount of space. I think this guy could be a potential fifth round guy
Hmm.
that the Eagles could put him in, plug him in with Aeneas. Uh, what is it, Aeneas Smith or whatnot?
Anais Smith. Yeah. Yeah.
Aeneas Smith, and Johnny Wilson, and you put him in to this. If the comp is right, and you can get a Devonta Smith or poor man's Devontae Smith in like the fourth or fifth round, I think that's worth taking at least a flyer on. What do you think?
Yeah, like we brought up, there's no such thing as too much depth on the team. I think that's going to be the biggest key here too. But the thing about it with Jahan Dotson is that maybe this will be the year if Jahan Dotson doesn't get that 5th year option or not, or he like test the free agency at the end of the season. Maybe this will be a season that he finally says, you know what? I mean, like maybe he like comes out of his shoulder, comes out and has a great season. I mean, he had a very good at the end of the season. He actually became better as the season went along, and I think yeah, sure. I mean, it's a good player to have on your rotation with, like you mentioned, like a Johnny Wilson, a Nice Smith, and the list goes on and on about that too. So that'll be definitely something to keep a close eye on too, especially what they will look like with that wide receiver position. But I think right now more than anything, I mean, if they can get a player like that to give a little bit more depth on that wide receiver core, I think I'll be okay with that too, Joe.
Just more tools for Jalen Hurts to play with.
Exactly right.
I mean, you can't have enough. I mean, and that's
No.
the other thing is the rich get richer, and that's all. That's fine. I mean, think about the way the comparison in 2017 to 2018, the Eagles roster declined rapidly,
Yeah.
and it's because we hired all these mercenaries. How we learned from that, and now look at this.
Hmm.
You go in from 24 to 25, and now you're Super Bowl champs, and you're bringing back a heavy, heavy nucleus to this team. You look at that defensive line. I mean, you look at that defense, and there's a heavy nucleus. You look at that offensive line, there's a heavy nucleus. You look at the offensive weapons, there's a heavy nucleus. This isn't like we have to worry about, oh God, how are we going to pay this guy or how are we going to pay this guy? Look,
Right.
Jalen Carter's going to get his bag. Jordan Davis might get his 5th year extension,
5th year option. Yeah.
5th year option. And so, like, and you have all these other options that you're bringing in. It's only making the rich richer. So, James, I got to ask you, up to this point, and we know that Howie might cook later today, but up to this point, what would you grade Howie Roseman with this year's draft?
Oh, I gotta give it an A. I mean, it's every single year. Like he continues to show me what he's made of. But I mean, instead of like, I mean, the thing I'll take out of this too is that I would actually say A plus plus because he nailed it on the head with the Jahad Campbell draft pick, and also he nailed it on the head with that Texas player too. But the thing about it too is that, like, I mean, the one thing I every single year going back to 2021 when he drafted Devontae Smith, and then the year after that with N'Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis, and even more so than that, the players that he brings in here are not just players that are going to be good later. They're going to be good now. I think they're going to be good now because you think about this time. Let's say, for example, in 2021, right? And we were thinking like how he's on the hot seat. He just got Jalen Rager. JJ Arcega-Whiteside was still on this team, and the list goes on and on about that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then that draft pick happened. Actually, no, it was the Cowboys traded their pick with Michael Parsons to the Eagles, and then the Eagles get Devontae Smith. The Cowboys get Michael Parsons, and then wouldn't you know it, Howie Roseman, for the first time maybe ever in his illustrious career, drafts an SEC guy. And it's been going on ever since. And you think about these two players that he brought in that this year and then 2024, 23, 22, and 2021. SEC is one of the top ranks in top notch, um, the top notch colleges go to SEC schools. And Devontae Smith was an example of that. Like I mentioned, N'Kobe Dean was an example of that. Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. Everything about that SEC. I even said it early on when I was skeptical about Howie. I said, dude, Howie Roseman's allergic to allergic to draft some players from SEC guys, and when you know it, I guess somehow in some way, like he either heard our show or heard somebody else say that he needs to draft some SEC players. And when you know it, Devontae Smith came around, and ever since 2021 of SEC players, he continues to show me that even though SEC is not the same as it once was, he's still drafting those SEC guys, and I gotta say, I'm pretty damn impressed by it.
By the way, speaking of people in the know that listen to our show, Jonathan Gannon, stop listening. I never turn away a fan of this show, James. I never do.
Yeah.
But literally every person I have picked for the Eagles to pick, Jonathan Gannon has drafted.
Oh, God.
Stop listening to the show, John. We do not want you to listen anymore. You left us. You left us high and dry. We could have 3 Super Bowl championships if it weren't for your ass. So, bye-bye. So long. You're not, and you watch some of the guys I just mentioned. If Jonathan Gannon drafts any one of those people, you'll know he listened to this morning. And John, I will find you in Arizona. I have relatives in Arizona. I will find you, and we will have a discussion, and James will produce the show in which that discussion happens. Because I do things for views, clicks, and likes. Let's not get it twisted.
Right.
But, getting back to the grade, I feel like Howie Roseman has done an A-plus job.
Right.
And I say that for a couple reasons. The obvious reasons being the players he selected.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, the way he went about drafting those players.
Right.
Not being impulsive. Not doing like what the Jacksonville Jaguars did and feel like they got to like go. They have to jump up and
Try to hit the post.
Right. You got to get to 50 to get this guy that we could easily get at 64.
Right.
Like being impatient. He wasn't impatient. He was very patient. He was very methodical. He was very strategic in what he was trying to accomplish with those draft picks. So, and then third, he has saved all, if not expanded, the amount of picks he's got to play with. This is a guy who walked into this draft with 20 picks for the next 2 seasons. We thought that he would trade some of those picks to move up in rounds. James, he's only traded 1 pick away out of the 20. So, and he actually added some when he traded out of the 3rd round last night. So he's back to that perspective of having a lot of picks. I mean, 6 for this current year, it remains. Who knows? He still has like 10 for next year, like 10 or 11 for next year. This is a guy that still has a lot of ammunition to play with.
Right.
And that's why I feel like that's the plus. So the grade is the A. The plus is the fact that he still has the ammunition to do whatever he wants.
Right.
To seemingly do whatever he wants. This is a guy that has enough ammunition this year and next year that he's got 2 4th-round picks. Why not make it 3? I mean, who cares? I mean, if we're doing it that way, I feel like Howie can do whatever he wants on today. Because you're not going to get a team that's going to ask for a 1st-round pick for a 4th or 5th or 6th. It's just not. Yep. So this is a guy that has the draft by the balls today. And I think he will take advantage of that. I think it'll be very entertaining. I think he's going to fit. And look, this is a team that does not have a ton of holes. It doesn't.
No,
So what did we say when we started this conversation? It never hurts to have depth.
no
Well,
such thing as too much depth.
you're going to have plenty of depth. And preseason is going to be fun because
Oh
it's
yeah,
going to be fun to see some of this depth play and really shine through.
yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And, I will just throw another little tidbit for someone. And Howie, if you're listening, please, because, Ian Book was nice. You signed a Notre Dame quarterback. That was nice. But you could go get a new Notre Dame quarterback, the guy Leonard. He did go to the national championship. He's still out there as a quarterback.
That's true.
Um, we don't need Sanders. Like, that's fine. Let him go play in the CFL or UFL and whatnot. Like, let him go do what is. Does that surprise you a lot, James, that Sanders fell to day 3?
Yes. Yes. The one thing I'll tell you this much about it too is we actually got a comment here for the first time today. Chad checks in and says, "What's up, James and Joe? I hope my Steelers draft a quarterback today. I'm tired of waiting on Grandpa Rogers to make a decision."
Maybe Sanders goes to your Steelers.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe Shador Sanders goes to maybe they finally break the camel's back and finally draft Shador on day 3 of the draft, but. It's shocking at first. I said to myself, at first it was a little bit shocking to see him go down, going down from top. I mean, even Mel Kiper thought he was like a top notch quarterback behind Cam Ward, and he's still trying to think that he's the draft expert, and I think he's a full of shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. The other thing too, though, but no, I mean. Now seeing him drop to day 3 of the draft, I'm saying this. This is gonna sound a little weird here, but it's kind of sounding like how the NBA used to do with LeVar Ball, was trying to tell his son trying to become more trying to convince that his son's a really good player and all that,
Yep.
and being on his son's backstop
with Lonzo and
Lonzo. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking too. Is I thinking maybe the reason why they don't want to draft him is probably because they don't want to deal with Dion's BS. I think that's probably the other.
I just found it funny. Me and my buddy were watching on day 1, on night 1 of the draft, and Dion had those commercials, and he was like, "It's not about me, it's about family." And my buddy just laughs. And he's like, "Not about you, Dion."
Yeah, real. Yeah, not about you, really, dude. Come on,
not about you.
Come on, brother.
It's always been about you.
Yeah, really.
So that's where I look. I think Sanders is get drafted, but who knows?
It's like that pigeon that was talking to Steve Buscemi. He's like, "No, you got a crumb bum attitude."
Yes,
that's.
All right, let me ask you this. So, out of what we watched the draft, we're through 2 days. Tell me who you think. Give me your top 2 teams that you think are winners.
Oh man, that's
outside of the Eagles, of course.
Yeah. Joe, that's a good question because I'm not entirely sure about who won on day 1. Or maybe day 2. If I got to pick one, I maybe have to go with the Falcons because the Falcons had look like they got better on defensive front with Jalen Walker, and even the players they got last night, and even that Notre Dame player Xavier Watts too. So I think that was probably the big storyline, and I think night 1 and night 2 was Atlanta Falcons that we talked about yesterday on Fly Like an Eagle podcast. Yeah. The second one though, I want to say Washington, but I don't know if Washington did do anything that good. Maybe Jacksonville when they got Travis Hunter because they got both a wide receiver and a cornerback, so that would be something they keep a close eye on.
Who do you think's a big loser out of the draft so far?
The biggest loser, man, I gotta go with I want to say Cleveland, but I think Cleveland is I don't. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the shock to me is the I think it was the Jets too, because like Tyler Warren was like right in their lap,
Yeah.
and I think like Tyler Warren going to the Colts, I'm thinking like Tyler Warren was like right in your lap, and then they finally drafted tight end, but I'm thinking like yeah, it's a little too late.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So I would say the two biggest winners, believe it or not, are the Ravens. Because they got
yeah, that's right,
they
yeah,
they got Starks and they got Mike Green. So you got two studs in both those days, and they've also got a couple other little pieces too. So it's going to be interesting. For the Ravens, the Ravens definitely bolstered their defense. I think they got a linebacker too. So like they definitely bolstered their defense. The other winner I would say has to be the Browns because I
yeah.
think they
Actually,
made
yeah, the Browns are. I mean, I meant to say the Steelers if we're not drafting Shador Sanders, but
yeah.
I don't know about the Steelers though, because if they're waiting on Rodgers, that's gonna be like even like Chad alluded to. It's like I'm tired of waiting. Just make your
Yeah.
damn decision already.
Well, here's the thing: the Browns, because I think in the first 2 days of the draft, I think they made about like a sum total of 5 picks or 4 or 5 picks.
Yeah.
This is a team that wants to reload. They got their quarterback, even if it's a project quarterback. They got their quarterback, and that wasn't Sanders.
Hmm.
You know, the biggest loser that I have for this is
The Giants.
I no, I
Actually,
gotta
the
say
Giants
they
did
did
pretty well.
oh, they did okay.
They did
I
okay.
but I would say that the Jets
Yes.
were the biggest loser because I'm with you with the Tyler Warren thing. I mean, Tyler Warren was sitting right there,
Yeah.
and they just decided to go a different direction. And I'm first off, the Jets. I don't even know who their quarterback is. Is it Zach Wilson? I mean,
No, I think it's Justin Fields. I think it's Fields now.
okay, but so are
But
we?
Justin Fields hasn't shown me anything that much
Well,
either.
that's what I'm going with. I mean, is
Yeah,
that a guy you willing to stake your franchise on?
I
Uh,
wouldn't know.
that's the difference. So I'm surprised the Jets, if you're not going to go Tyler Warren, then I don't understand why you don't draft a quarterback. Like
Right.
it just doesn't. I mean, we've gone through 6 quarterbacks have been drafted already.
Hmm.
So like it's getting thin. I mean, I know Shador Sanders is out there, but and I started to contemplate in the late third round when the Jets were up. I'm like, is this where Sanders goes? I'm like,
Right.
wow. You take him and you put him in New York. Well, he'll be under a microscope. So,
Definitely.
I mean, who knows? I think right now the two biggest teams to be in the Shador Sanders sweepstakes are the Jets and the Steelers. I honestly do. It's going to be an interesting outcome. But we're going to move on with your Philadelphia Phillies, and we're going
Uh,
to try to make this as
Short and sweet.
short, sweet, and as painless as possible. So let me ask this, James. The Phillies have been on a 5 game losing streak.
Good Lord.
Tell me what you think the problem is. What pinpoint to me what the problem with this team is?
Man, there's so many things wrong with this team. There's so many things that happen with this team. Um, the hitting is just, oh my god, where do I begin with that? Because here's the thing I took out of it too, and this is the thing that drove me crazy about what happened in these last couple games and all that too. Um, I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago when this started to fade a little bit. It started to get a little bit skeptical. Um, I was the one thing I was really concerned about was when like I said to myself like, am I disappointed how they're playing? Am I annoyed, or am I thinking that this is where they are, or this is like basically expected? So I'm like thinking like this is expected than it was. That I'm feeling like this is more it's more expected now than it was unexpected. Because I think for the Phillies, because last year they ever since that London series they never looked the same after that. And the craziest part about it is ever since then they basically looked horrible after that sequence that happened back in June, and they never recovered from that. And it feels like that same thing is happening here this year with this team too, because I'm one guy that wants to watch a baseball game and also wants to cover this team. This team is just really exhausting to watch. I mean, that bull. I mean, last week watching a 10, like it was a what was it, a it was a
11-4,
11-4. Yeah, it was
11-4,
11-4, and then the next thing you know, it's like, wait,
11-10.
11-10. Yeah, and I'm saying to myself, why are you keep on thinking that Jordan? I'm not saying this because he says it's Jordan Romano. No, I'm saying Jordan Romano. Okay, I'm going to steal something from Kathy Romano from Preston and Steve. I can't with this team, dude. I simply just freaking can't. Because this is the shit that drives me crazy with this team. But I promise you, I promise I'll try to keep it, take it easy. I'll try to keep it a little bit arm's length. But man, I'm tired of Jordan Romano, dude. He's so awful. He is terrible.
So here's what I think. I think you hit the nail on the head. But the bullpen's bad. What's worse is the hitting.
The
You
hitting's
know, like
horrible. The hitting's
right,
atrocious.
right now you can get people on base, but you can't. It's rocket science to figure out how to get them home. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it shouldn't be. Now, here's something I've been thinking about. So last season, when we were on that hot tear, we got to mid June, and we faced the LA Dodgers, if you remember. We came back, I believe, from London, and then we had to face the Dodgers. Here's the thing. So we were on a tear, and we beat the Dodgers there. We
Mm-hmm.
we we, we beat the Dodgers that season, last season.
Yep.
And then we went from this high of highs with we beat the Dodgers to the low of lows, the
Right.
most, you know, inadequate, mediocre, vanilla kind of play that
Mm-hmm.
I've ever been a part of or better been able to witness.
Mm-hmm.
Then you fast forward to this season and we get the Dodgers early
Yep.
and we are again, okay, the Dodgers are the benchmark. They're the tone setters. If you can beat them, you know you're a contender. We beat them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the highest of highs. And then we go back into mediocrity. I don't know if it's that we put so much effort into beating the Dodgers that after we're so exhausted for everybody else, but it's ridiculous. You need to wake up, snap out of it, and understand that the Dodgers, even though you have their number, aren't the end all be all.
Right.
That's the bottom line. You know you got their number, that's great, but you can't possibly expect to beat them in the playoffs if you are playing mediocre vanilla baseball for the majority of this season because you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going
Right.
to even have the chance to beat them or face them in the playoffs if you don't turn it around.
Right.
Now, my that leads me to my next question, James. Do
Sure.
you still see this team as a playoff contending team?
I don't know, Joe. I don't. I mean, it's just. I mean, yeah, sure. Like, it's not how you start, it's how you finished. I mean, that's the most important thing to think about what happened in 2022 with this team. That they got in the last game of the season, the last week of the season, and basically went to the World Series after that. But I don't know, man. I just I want to be happy as could be about this team, and also be having the highs and lows about this team too. But I just I don't know if this team is capable of even trying to be a playoff team at this point. I mean, I think they're tuning out Topper. I mean, Topper's not done a good job either. Sometimes it makes you scratch your head of all these decisions that he has made. But the question I have to say is that if this team makes the postseason, they could be one and done. But right now, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm being like a sound like I'm trying to keep it. I'm not. I don't. I mean, the way it's looking right now, it's going to be a long summer. Going to admit.
So, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to be the ray of sunshine for everyone out there that's listening that has felt very much like James with this Philadelphia Phillies team. This is what I'll say. We're 13-13. 26 games. There's still over 125 games left in the baseball season. Still a long ways to go. And it's like James said, because we had said it before we came on air, it's not
Hmm.
always the team that's hottest in April that makes it far in the playoffs. You look a
Right.
couple years ago when the Rays went like undefeated for like 15 games or whatever. Like they
Hmm.
were untouchable in April. And then when they came to October, they were invisible. So that's the difference. And then you think about a couple years ago, 2022, before Rob Thompson took over as manager for this ball club, we had another douchebag that was like had his head in a book the whole time. And he basically took us to 22 and 29 before he got fired. And the
Hmm.
Phillies made it to the World Series that year.
Yep.
So understand something real crystal clear. This team is still in the fight. I feel like they are still a playoff team. It's just a matter of figuring out how to turn this
Team around.
ball club. So that being said, to wrap this up for with a nice little bow, me and James are going to take turns. We're going to become the manager for the Philadelphia Phillies. We are going to be the new manager. Topper is out. James Scorza, you're in. You are addressing your team for the first time about what your expectations are, what is going to be done, and how frustrated you have been with the product that you've seen on the field. James, the floor is yours.
All right. Okay, guys. Listen, this has been going on for quite a while now. Obviously, the daycare stuff and all the other stuff in between. I gotta say it right now. This is a team. I mean, this is actually supposed to be a team to have fun when you're supposed to have fun. The question I want to ask all of you guys in this room right here: how much do you want it? How much do you want this to get back to normalcy? Sure, it's been a long time since the Phillies have been relevant and also got to a World Series. And I mean, hard to believe it was 4 years ago we actually were at this pinnacle of one step closer to capturing our first world title in a long, long time. The last time I checked, this team around here, you guys swinging that junk, you guys pitching like you never pitched before. Jordan, Trey, the players that Dave brought in, you guys look like. I mean, look. I at first you guys look like they were good signings, but I'm going to tell you right now, you guys have not looked up to the expectations of what you did. But I'll tell you this much though: if the team you want to go back to this year to become what you want to be in this day and age of baseball, into the relevancy like you were back in 2022, it starts right here, right now. I learned many times before, it's not how you start, it's not how you finish. And I'll tell you this right now too. If you're not in it for the long haul, there's the door. If you don't want to be here, there's the door. Because I want winners in this team. I want winners on this team. Okay? I want players to look at us and say, when Red October comes around and says, yeah, I'm afraid to be coming to Philadelphia because this team is absolutely electric. And also, in the words of the great Scott Fransky, we call it bedlam at the bank. Show me what you're made of. Okay? Stop swinging that junk. Stop thinking that you think you know everything and everything about the game of baseball, and just do your job. And if you do that job, like in the words of Gene Hackman of Hoosiers, we'll be winners. Time's yours, Joe.
So I want to just so I love that. I think you hit on a lot of things. So now I'm going to take the helm for Topper, and I'm going to become the manager for the Philadelphia Phillies. And this is what I got to say to everybody. Guys, this is a simple game sometimes. It's a game that we all played as kids. It's a game that we all enjoyed as children.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game that you guys have overcomplicated and overthought for far too long. You guys have stopped having fun. You guys have stopped enjoying the game. There's people out there that pay hard money to come to this game and watch you play. And all of you have been paid handsomely for your talents, your skills. You're all skillful, talented players. You need to all buy into that because this organization that has been historic for bringing in compassionate, passionate players, the people that actually care about this city. Guys like John Kruk, Mike Schmidt, Shane Victorino, Jamie Rollins, Cole Hamels, Kevin Stocker, just to name a few. You guys are the next page in the Phillies historical journal of what comes next. It's what you write next that defines your legacy. You can't allow yourself to get too inside your own head about chase rates, about war, about on base percentage, about strikeouts, about wins and losses. What you need right now is to settle into who you guys really are, whether it's the daycare, whether it's the core four with Harper and Schwarber and Turner and Castellanos. You need to figure out how to become the Phillies that you guys always have been and have shelved for the longest time. It's time to come out and shine. Not for now, not for later, but it is time to shine so that when Red October comes around, we can shine up that trophy in that trophy case. That we can finally bring home to Mr. Middleton what he rightfully and richly deserves. So we can bring back home a championship to the city of Philadelphia that we haven't seen since 2008. It's time for you to all write your next chapter.
Wow. That's perfectly well said, Joe. That's well said.
This team needs, James, this team needs to feel empowered.
Yeah. So they need, in the words of Peter Laviolette, they need to play with some jam.
Yeah. I mean, look, you got time. Okay, but now you need to figure out, is it worth, are you going to harp on the last 26 games or are you going to focus on the next 120 some other games? What
That's
are you
the question. That's the
what
question.
are you going to focus on?
Right.
Like, the 26 games can be scrapped. You could be 0-0. Does it matter? Because you go out there and you play ball the way you guys know you can, the way we all know you can, it
Um.
takes the pressure off of you.
Yeah. We gotta wrap it up. I'm sorry, Joe.
No problem. So that does it for us for today. For James Scorza doing a great production job. I'm Joe Marks. We're the Pattison Ave Sports Show, and see you next week, Philly. And let's go Eagles.
Go Birds. Let's get it.